Hello and welcome to Channel 2S. I'm your host, Second Soundwave, and the awesome guy you see in front of you right now is the Metal Build Blue Frame Astray Second Revise. This is not going to be one of the kits we're talking about today because it's not actually a kit, it's a figurine, but I thought it was too cool to not share with you guys, so I dropped it in here at the beginning anyways. What we're going to be talking about today is a new batch of images that dropped last night that had a ton of new reveals in it. Now, due to the volume of reveals here we have today, I think this batch of information was meant to be shown off at like Shizuoka or some kind of big hobby show, and because everything is closed down now for obvious reasons, Bandai just said screw it and released it all online. Before we get too far into that though, as always, quick thank you to New Type HQ, sponsor of the channel. If you want to buy yourself some Gunpla to keep yourself occupied while you're sitting around at home doing nothing, you can use code Channel2S for 10% off your first order. Link, as always, in the description below. Alright, so the first kit we have here is a Build Divers Re-Rise kit. We're going to have a few kits from Re-Rise today. However, this first one is actually from the Re-Rise side story manga. And this Gundam itself is a very heavy retool of the existing core Gundam. Now, the core Gundam itself is pretty similar. It's just red, but the armor's all new. It has this kind of Megazord-esque combining animal theme to it, where each one of the limbs has like a different animal assigned to it, kind of. I do like this design a lot. I like how colorful it is compared to some of the previous core Gundam armors. I understand the whole gimmick of the line is that you're supposed to be able to mix and match parts around, but when each armor pretty much only has one definitive color, it does make things a little bit boring, so I really do appreciate how much they're breaking up the color scheme on this one. One of his weapons, as you can see here, is a giant beam whip, which actually looks pretty awesome and kind of fits in with the whole Beastmaster theme he's got going on. And here we can see the core Gundam on the inside. It does look like it has a new V-fin, a new face, so I think this kit looks pretty cool, but right now this is really all the images we have of it, so we're going to move along to a upgrade set for it, which I don't remember the name of. Hey, editing 2S from the future here. So this armor set is called the Onrise Armor, and I also realized as I was editing this that I forgot to mention the name of the actual Gundam itself, and that is the Anima Rize Gundam. And this actually quite charming looking little robot guy actually splits apart into a set of boosters and a new V-fin for the core Gundam. I actually really like how this looks. I think it's a really fun little add-on set, kind of reminds me of something you might see out of 30-minute missions. As you can see here, there are actually two different configurations, so you can have kind of a ground form or a space form. I think the way they have you flip the V-fin upside down for this form is a little bit goofy looking, but, you know, overall it's still pretty cool. Actually, looking at it up close here, I am getting a little bit of a Gundam Age 3 vibe, I believe, from this V-fin. Even if that's not exactly where it's from, it definitely does look familiar. So moving along to the HGUC line, we have one of the last kits we needed from Zeta Gundam. Last few years, Bandai has been kind of filling in the few remaining gaps in Zeta Gundam. We got the Bjarlant, we got the Gabaldi. Now we're finally getting the Bound Doc. At this point, pretty much the only thing we need aside from a few random MSV carryovers is the Bolinoic Saman, but now, just to hold us over till then, we have the big, badass Bound Doc. Now this is one funky looking machine. This is one of those designs that just kind of makes me love Zeta Gundam, because Zeta Gundam and Double Zeta Gundam were not afraid to make just the weirdest looking crap. The Bound Doc, as you can see here, is a super asymmetrical design. It's got this huge kind of hoop skirt thing going on with the skirt armor. I'm not expecting this kit to be superposable just because of how it's designed. It doesn't seem like it's quite meant for that. But I think the most impressive thing about this kit, and something that I never realized about the Bound Doc until I saw the image of this model, is that it's freaking massive. This is a literal mobile armor. Now, this is reflected in the price tag of the kit. This is a 5,000 yen approximately model, so this is like a $50 kit. And for a high grade, that is a lot, but when you got a kit like this that's around the size of the Kshatriya, if not slightly bigger, I think that's kind of understandable. Regarding posability on this model, of course, that is kind of a big question because of how unique its design is. This is the only picture you've seen of it where it's doing any kind of action pose. I'm still really glad we're getting this kit, though. I love some of these just really wacky out there kits we get, like the Barzam and this thing, where it's just not constructed like any other Gundam you'll ever build, and no matter how many kits you've built, no matter how burnt out you might be on Gunpla, you're not going to get bored building this kit. Here we can see the Bound Doc's transformed form. It turns into a mobile armor. I think it is a pretty creative transformation, especially for a mobile suit, seeing as it's got a bit of asymmetry going on where one arm kind of goes up on the top and one goes on the bottom, and the skirt armor kind of forms the main fuselage of the suit. I think it's a pretty creative design. But as cool as the Bound Doc is, next kit we got here is going to be even cooler for a lot of people watching this video, because I know you guys love IBO, and apparently Bandai loves IBO too, because they made another kit even though it's been years since this show was on the air. You guys remember the Marcosius? It was the last HG IBO kit we got, and that was supposed to be like kind of the Calamity War version of the Gundam from that like spin-off mobile game. Well, this is the modern day version of that Gundam, the one you actually see in the game. I think it was called like the Gundam Habrogie or something. It's kind of a weird one because unlike all the others, it's not actually named after a demon, it's given like some other name by the pilot. And with these initial images, I would recommend taking them with a massive grain of salt because as you can see by the kind of texturing going on them, these are fully CGI. This is in no way a representation of what the actual kit is going to look like. I'm sure the color separation is going to be really problematic, just like it was with the last one. But if you just want to get an idea for what the sculpt of this kit is going to be like, here you go. I gotta say, I really do like how this kit looks from the back. Now, a lot of that does come down to the color separation on the butt thrusters. I think they're pretty cool looking, but of course, I also know deep down that when this kit really comes out, realistically, what this is probably gonna be is just some white wings, some white tubes, and then maybe some black pieces here on the back. So I do have to consciously temper my expectations a bit because I know the color separation on this isn't going to be really that great. On the bright side though, if you look at the insides of the ankle armor here, you can see that it does appear like the yellow vents are a separate piece, so at least it has that going for it. They are giving a little bit of extra attention to the weapons on this kit, and he has a pretty cool gimmick built into his shield where it's got both a swing out claw and a very cool drill bit that bursts out of the middle. I can easily imagine him just like grabbing onto a mobile suit with this, and then the drill just kind of slowly coming out the front and just burrowing its way into the cockpit. It's like someone took that pneumatic spike that the Barbatos had in its mace, and they took the drill knees from the Kimaris Vidar, and they just mashed them together into an even more brutal weapon. So this is the first and only image you're going to see in this video of a kit that has been announced already, and this is the Beyond Global Gundam. However, the images we saw this before were kind of a little bit sketchy. They were sort of hiding a lot of things about the kit. They were showing it in an exploded view. They were showing it in a really dynamic pose. They weren't really letting us see what the kit just looks like when it's standing around. And now that I've seen it, I kind of understand why. This model's proportions are definitely very stylized. The legs are super long and skinny. If I had to describe it in words, I would say this looks like Obari's take on the Gundam. And seeing how this kit looks in full view has really dampened my excitement for this kit. I was hoping from those initial images that this would be kind of a beefier, chunkier version of the Gundam, but it seems like they're going in the complete opposite direction, and I can't really say I'm a fan. I understand them wanting to make something different since the Revive is already a very popular kit, but I think if they just went all in on the details and gimmicks, they could have done enough to set it apart from the Revive without completely destroying the proportions. There's also this really weird thing going on with the colors where it has this like bone white that they're using for some parts. The waist, the shoulders, the knees, they're a very different color from the thighs and the calves. This is a really weird looking kit, and I think for a lot of people it's just not going to be their kind of design. However, it is important to remember that these are pretty early images, so at this point I'm not going to judge the kit too harshly. Next up we have another Bill Divers announcement. This is the Haropla Haro Fitter. It's a lot like the Haro Loader, but different. This one's got cat ears, it's got little robot arms. It does have a little Ground Gundam style backpack where it can store its equipment, and the ears can fold down, but aside from that, it's just another pretty basic little Haro kit that is probably going to show up in Bill Divers Re-Rise at some point, but aside from that, it's just not really pulling in my interest at all. Next up, we have Bandai's, what is this, 1, 2, 3, fourth attempt, I think, at making a Fumina model kit, and they've been kind of unlucky for a lot of these. Everything except for the figurized Labo really just didn't look right at all. The eyes would be wrong, the face would be wrong, the proportions would be weird, they were just coated in stickers. And to be fair, in a lot of ways, this is the best looking attempt they've made at a Fumina model so far. Oh, and by the way, if I didn't mention it already, I think I might not have. This is a figurized. This is part of the figurized standard line, just like the Ayame and Nami that they did earlier on. And if I'm being completely fair to it, it really doesn't look that bad. However, I still gotta talk about the face, because something about the face and head of this kit just looks really off. And in this particular instance, it doesn't look creepy or dead or soulless like the other models did. It just looks off. Like, it doesn't quite look like Fumina. Now, she does come with alternate parts to display her without her jacket on, which makes her giant doll joints even more visible. And she does have a few alternate faces as well, such as this embarrassed pouting face and a startled/surprised face. Also, for some reason, she comes with a petite guy. I don't know why. She just does. Alright, so here we have a new set of equipment for the Gundam Tertium. Before we had a recolored set of Celtsam arms for it, which was pretty cool. It was kind of neat to see the kind of Celtsam style weapons on a more like heroic design for the kit that's not all evil and corrupted. However, here we can see another alternate set of weapons for it that are taking a little bit of inspiration from the Zeta Plus C1. These parts can go on the Tertium, and I gotta say they actually do look pretty good with it. These are the kind of accessories that I kind of wish came with the kit from the get-go, just because this is really just some basic Gundam stuff. You know, we got some wing binders, we got a rifle. None of this is like super crazy or exciting. But hey, Bandai is going to be Bandai. So here we have something that's actually pretty cool, and this is a second set of expansion parts for the cross silhouette line. So what we have going on here is basically a bunch of pieces that you can use to enhance and modify existing cross silhouette kits. So we got a few things going on here. First, we have a piece that allows you to transform the cross silhouette Zeta Gundam, and then over here we have a conversion kit for turning the cross silhouette Zaku 2 back into a Zaku 1. Down here we have a pair of beam sabers with actual beam effect parts, which I believe is something we were sorely lacking from the line up until now. And in addition to a pair of new dynamic hand pieces, we also get some swing out hip attachments for the cross silhouette and standard SD frames. As you can see, there is a lot of material in this pack. Now granted, only a little bit of it is really going to be useful if you don't have either the Zaku or the Zeta Gundam, but I still think this is a really cool way to enhance and brighten up some of these kits. I know sometimes the older BB Senshi kits would come with alternate parts that you could use to convert them into a different mobile suit, and I always thought that was kind of a cool gimmick. So it's neat to see Cross Silhouette bringing back and kind of playing with that idea again in these expansion packs. So here you can see the Wave Rider parts in action with the Zeta Gundam. I think this looks pretty cool. I think it's really smart that they figure out a way to make this work with a kit that already exists. Unless, of course, they actually plan this from the start, in which case that's a lot of thinking ahead. I'm kind of impressed with that. And here you can see the Zaku 1 fully painted, and yes, you will have to paint it, that's just how these sets work. But if you want yourself some good old-fashioned old Zaku for your SD collection, I think this is a pretty cool way for them to release it. And the very last thing we're going to be talking about tonight is a premium Bandai set, I think, that we really don't have a whole lot of information about, but what this appears to be is a bundle that includes the full Re-Rise Season 2 team. We got a Yrevan Gundam, the Wadam, the Aegis Knight, and the X-Valky Lander, all together in one pack, sort of like that Tekidon Final Stand pack that we got for Iron-Blooded Orphans. But since this is literally the only image we have of it, there's really not a whole lot of speculation you can do. So that's going to do it for tonight, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like if you did, maybe share it around with your friends. If you're new to Channel 2S, subscribe for more Gunpla news, general Gundam content, Gunpla content. I try to do a whole bunch of different stuff. So thanks again for watching this video all the way to the end. As always, I am Second Soundwave. I'm your host, and I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.